folks. How's it going? Welcome to the Rubecast, and I have a very special guest, the first most or second most angry person in our family, depending on how angry I am. Say hello.
Hello.
To Caleb Sinnema, the band, the myth, the legend, lifelong rancher, farmer, family man, gun advocate, beast slayer, professional caver, trail-rated truck driver, and if you don't like him, you can shut your mouth.
That's right.
I'm gonna get the jump on this.
Okay. All right. I'm
Diet caffeine-free Coke.
and I got an A&W, zero sugar.
That was a good one.
Not bad.
Hey, welcome to the Rubecast, everyone, and it's Caleb.
I'm really glad to be here. I've been listening to a lot of episodes. I'm pretty excited.
Caleb, scumbag.
I am an angry soul.
So am I. We talk each other off the cliff. You want to light the candle?
I'm lighting it.
We forgot to do it when Jabin was here.
Oh, Jabin's busy pouring gray mud.
He's working in that
Damnable concrete business with those terrible men that are just hard.
Oh, they're just terrible scallywags. Ooh, we got a burning fire over here.
Maybe.
It's good. It'll smell great.
Okay.
My favorite Sensi. Remember Sensi when people were selling that? Maybe it was a Midwestern thing.
No, we had it too.
It was like it would melt wax in a bowl.
Oh, we still burn those stupid
They're
things.
pretty great, but
Yeah. Unless a kid hits it with the ball and it flops all over the place.
spoken like a true boy, Dad.
Ish.
Well, anyway, my favorite smell of Sensi was My Dear Watson.
Oh, that was a scent?
Yeah, and
Oh.
it made you feel like this is what Sherlock Holmes's office smelled like.
Well, your office is giving me the Sherlock Holmes vibe.
Wood paneling.
I love it.
I
I
don't
know what everyone hates wood paneling for. It's
I
cozy.
like it. It is cozy. It's budget cabin ambiance.
I guess it's not mahogany.
My cabin is lined with rich Brazilian mahogany.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a thing.
You know, real Montana cabins were a shack in the middle of a mountain, not some lavish 3-day mansion. You know, it was a shack lined with more shack, and you just went there to bug out.
We built a lean-to onto the shack where we can keep our firewood.
Yeah, now it's just what people think we are is just unreal. But
It's a new house, but can I cover it in rusted corrugated tin?
yeah, and
that I've paid way too much money for.
and then can you find a dairy barn where the cows are peeing all over boards, and we can use that for the main hall?
There's one time I was working in a, quote, cabin up near Mount Doom down the canyon. And I think it was Sauron's. Well, anyway. So I goes to the guys, I says to him, because it was all rustic. It's all aged barnwood. And I said to the guys, I says, oh, has this got extra horse pee in it or what?
Oh.
And they, of course, even the workmen take themselves too seriously. Like, we're elite contractors. Sometimes they'd laugh. But
You know, I knew a guy that was looking for like boards from old dairy barns or any kind of cow barn because they have like a certain piss sheen.
And this is the thing. Yeah, I don't care. I told people I'm not bleeping out a bunch of stuff. I did bleep a name last week.
Yeah, I
because
caught
we
that.
wanted to keep-
That was a good
Did you-
bleep because I know who that is, and I was like, did I hear that wrong? And so I replayed it, and then I was like, oh, he bleeped it. Attaboy.
Caleb's catcher of details. This one time.
And then I was dying with the Yukon Cornelius thing that you did.
Whoa! Land ho!
I love that movie for that.
Ham hocks and guitar strings. Ham
I
hocks
thought
and
you
guitar
were
strings.
looking for gold. I changed my mind. Anyways.
As best as I know how.
Oh, here's
to
Jimmy
those
again.
That I have wronged, that I have sinned against.
Jimmy swaggered.
Well, that's about good timing.
First of all, my wife, Frances.
Oh,
I forgot to mute this. It
God
wasn't
never
supposed to
gave
play,
a
but it's
man
you know, I've witnessed something like this in real life.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, be quiet, Jimmy.
A former administrator of a certain school kind of did the same thing, and then he went in front of a certain group of people at a certain religious establishment. It was awkward, terrible. Yeah.
What are we talking about? Yukon Cornelius.
Yeah.
Silver!
I thought you were looking for gold. I changed my mind.
I want to be a dentist.
A dentist? You're an elf! The same guy did half the voices because that bulbous-nosed head
really?
elf. It's got to be.
Oh, that's classic.
Herbie doesn't want to make toys. Herbie doesn't want to make toys. Herbie doesn't want to make toys.
It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's one of the greatest. I could watch it right now.
The all-time, top favorite movies of all time for me. Number one, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Tied with number one is probably Jeremiah Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Classic. Best
Okay.
line from that movie, may I?
Yeah.
Caleb. Or wait a minute, not Caleb. That's the name of his orphan son. What does he say? Delgue says to him when they're I think they're in the camp of what are those, the natives up by Flathead? Are they Flathead Indians?
Okay.
And he says they're offering him a bride in payment for horses. And Jeremiah's going, no. And Delgue says, if you don't accept this gift, they'll cut you, me, and Caleb from crotch to eyeball with a dull deer antler. And thus he accepts it.
Oh, man.
Great line. I love that line.
How's it do on tobacco stains? I reckon it does great. And he spits on the guy's white suit.
Oh, yes.
It's a great one.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're talking about Jeremiah Johnson, though, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking of the outlaw Josie Wales. That's one of my faves.
No, I watched Jeremiah Johnson the first time in your DVD stack when you came
Yep.
home from college.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah, in the beginning you're like, this can't be good, and then you're hooked.
You are hooked. I'm going to pause very quickly. And we're back. I had to get my sound effects apparatus online because I don't want to do it without it. Let's hear this little gem from Brennan Lee.
Jeremiah Johnson made his way into the mountains, betting on forgetting all the troubles that he knew.
That's kind of cool.
Those guys were 10 times the men we are today.
You want to say your quote about the West?
Ah, yeah. Let's see. The West was won by men, and it's getting ruined by... You fill in the blank. It starts at the P, ends at the Y.
Pokey?
Yeah. Well, for the sake of the show, we'll just call
ruined
them...
by pokies.
They're getting ruined by those dang pokies.
Yeah, a bunch of pokies.
But, I mean, I can't imagine just setting off. And they did it. I mean, John Bozeman... that was his name, wasn't it?
I think so.
Well, someone will fact check us. But anyways, Bozeman Trail. I mean, he literally just took a rifle, probably a Hawken 50.
A Hawken?
And he had moccasin shoes, and he just started hiking. And I believe, and then John Coulter or Bozeman was charged with finding a way to the Spanish in the Southwest America at the time. And they just set off and did it. They found a trade route.
Hey, Siri. Who founded Bozeman, Montana? John Bozeman. Nailed it.
Oh, you bet.
Founded by John Bozeman in 1864.
And I mean, those guys would just set off alone, and they had to come up with their meals. And, you know, at the time, there was plenty of Native American activity going on. And they still didn't think too kindly of our type. So, I mean, it's incredible, but
It is.
I digress.
I was going to look up Yukon. It's the first thing that comes up. When you type Yukon into YouTube, it's literally the first thing that comes up. Now, what I'm worried about is if I play it, it's going to be commercial. Yep. So, you commercial. Ha, ha, ha. But we got to hear from classic American mountain man.
Yeah.
The greatest prospector in the North! Gold! Gold and silver! Mush! Mush!
You can see why it resonated with our family.
Because he's loud.
Yes.
Land ho!
It's
That's
wonderful.
when he conks the bumble on the head with a big rock.
That's why that resonated with us kids, because we were always red-faced loud. And so when we saw that guy, and he was like, our eyes went pop-eyed, and we're like, duh.
This classic gem from the 60s, Rankin Bass production.
Yeah,
Rudolph the
download.
Red-Nosed.
Download.
That's what people say, too, when we act crazy or we, I don't know how to put it, when we're just kind of obnoxious and loud and raucous. And where did you guys get that from, Ross? We had 2.5 TV channels.
Yeah.
And we memorized everything we did have and made it into our own.
Ruben was our leader. We would get off the bus and usually have to walk a mile home, and Ruben would be dragging a tuba, if I recall.
Baritone.
A baritone.
A little bit smaller.
And,
a big poop brown baritone case.
Yep. And we would get home, and I vividly remember many times Walker would be on, and after which we would play bar fight, which entailed us just throwing cushions at each other and destroying the living room.
Like I would throw you guys over the chairs and like onto the couch and stuff, and that would always be. I think that was Josh. Pretend this is a table filled with glass, and it's all broken when you throw me on it.
And I was always Trivet. Was it Trivet? Trivet.
Dad called him Trivet.
Yeah, Trivet. I was always Trivet.
I wonder if we'll get copyright flagged for playing if we played the theme song. The Eyes of a Ranger.
You have to.
All right.
What happens if it gets flagged?
I don't know.
They can't remove this episode.
We're not sponsored, so it's not like we'd lose sponsorships.
But it's such a good song.
It actually is really good. Wasn't Johnny Cash in an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger?
What was the name of the bar hound guy or the
CB or CD?
CD.
CD.
Trivet, aka Trivet.
All right, let's see if it'll go.
In the eyes of a ranger, the unsuspecting stranger had better know the truth of wrong from right. 'Cause the eyes of the ranger are upon you.
Sounds a little high.
No, it's right.
He's gonna see.
My favorite part's the beginning.
When you're in Texas, look behind you. 'Cause that's where the ranger's gonna be.
Wow.
That,
You know what I mean?
That's
Come on.
our childhood.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, now these idiot kids are watching like freaking Bluey and all that crap, and we cut our teeth on that.
This is what we watched.
Yeah, like that was
As little
our
kids.
YouTube kids.
We literally grew up on Chuck Norris roundhouse kicking people in the mouth.
And occasionally the good old classic.
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Yeah, we did that
Sully.
too. That was my first crush.
Jane Seymour.
Quinn, I think I have a wound.
And then that guy with the Horace.
Oh yeah. I just remember the show when they had, I believe it was, there was a Jew in town. And he was going around one of the shops to
It's
try
like a
to,
big controversy.
yeah, to try to imitate or try to sell the stuff they were selling for cheaper. And he would just go to the store and say, just looking. Just looking.
Super offensive.
I know.
For the record, we love Jews. Our Savior is one.
Yes, and I fly the Israeli flag, and
Oh, this is gonna get real.
I'm just all-
trigger alert to my progressive friends. If you're listening to this, wee.
What do you mean you don't support the Gaza Glass Company?
Put your no. Put your crash helmets on. Caleb's getting wound up. Wee. New guy's in the corner puking his guts out. Anyway, but it was just, I mean, growing up like that was so crazy. And I don't know, like, I can't help it. We all grew up a certain way, and we all came back to it.
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting how different. I don't know. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so dang good. And, we never knew what we were missing out on. We didn't have the latest video game system or nothing.
They did have a Sega Genesis, though.
Yeah, and that was... And it was funny when
Rocket
people would
Knight
come...
Adventures.
When our friends would come over, they all wanted what we had, which was not as good as what they had.
We did not have
Trendsetters from day one.
much stuff. Yeah, like I had a dumpy old... It wasn't even mine. I borrowed Dad's. I mean, basically, the proto of the mini truck you guys have was an 83 Toyota pickup that we joke ran on 3 cylinders out of 4.
What was the model called?
I don't know.
I think it was a 1984 Ricer.
Dad called it the Rice Rocket.
Yeah.
He just did. And that's whatever.
Our dad has loved jamming his tall legs into small vehicles since the beginning of time.
That is
if there's
interesting.
anyone who should be driving a giant tall pickup, should be the tall guy. But no, he wants to drive a tiny Toyota that his knees hit the dash.
I drive them big pickups all day. I
And
don't
then
need that.
now
I'm
he's
driving
got
trucks all day.
Yeah, he got a mini truck, which is the cat's meow. But like getting in there, if you're his size,
What is it? What's the brand again?
Daihatsu.
Ohio coming along.
Hi,
It reminds me of Beverly Hills Ninja.
I know. Which was another staple movie of our childhood.
I mean, we watched it over and over and over and over.
What was that? You look like a pimp. Thank you. And as a pimp, I'll I'll blend into the streets of Beverly Hills like MSG in a miso soup.
Martin Tanley. You close the front gate and I come in the back door.
And then they play that stupid Jungle Boy song when he's flying on the giant palm tree.
Yes.
Now you got to find that one.
I will. Oh, man. It's so good.
For the viewers, if you don't know where this is a broadcast, is in Ruben's office, and it's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's the best office that I've had. I wonder if there's like a supercut that I could find.
Now,
There's so
are we
many.
ever going to be able to do the Trio Brothers, the original, all together?
I think we could do all 4 of us.
Jabin came latter. He's great, but
I used to call him the expansion team.
yeah, he does. Jabin had the polar opposite of what all we had. He had like, Mom would be
poor
like,
guy.
"I'm missing my debit card. Does anyone know where it is?" And Jabin just had it in his wallet.
There's only one hope.
So sorry.
Flag.
One mysterious beauty.
I will
this
accept your
the-
dangerous mission.
A deadly
Commercial
counterfeiting
for
ring.
it.
Well, if it isn't the great white ninja.
And Chris Farley in a Kung Pao adventure.
Very underrated.
Beverly Hills Ninja.
Go see it. I mean, honestly.
It's a classic.
That preview was so underwhelming. And what makes me really sad is that Chris Farley, he was upset about that movie because he got beat up by the critics.
Really?
Yeah. And, like there's, it was Gene Siskel. Remember Siskel and Ebert back in the day?
yeah.
Gene Siskel hated Chris Farley. I just watched a documentary about this. And they ripped every movie he did. Every single, and I don't know, Roger Ebert maybe had a little sympathy because he was a heavy fella too. He was real heavy as well.
He was heavy.
He was heavy set. He probably had the diabetes.
He was
But
heavy.
anyway, they just ripped him. Every movie he came out with, and I'll never forget. Just recently, hearing this soundbite of Gene Siskel saying that Chris Farley's not funny. I knew John Candy. I knew John Belushi. He's not them. Yeah, you want to know what? I think he's funnier than them in a lot of ways.
Agreed.
Hot take. Because
John Belushi's an idiot. Oh, there I said it.
well,
not funny.
and he's a legend. He is a total legend. Like Chris
Not
Farley
to me.
Chris, this is how a lot of our conversations go.
Yeah.
as brothers. Well, you should try it. Like, I'll never try it. But anyway, both legends. But Chris Farley, I feel like his physical comedy and the people, he just resorts to yelling. He was super creative and he could act.
Yes.
And his physical comedy and his volume and his facial expressions.
There's a thing on Instagram I've been sending you, and you probably see it too, but it's clips of Chris Farley. There's so many more golden clips that I never saw. And one of them is I think he's like doing like a skating thing, and he's like, I'm going to do a triple axel like the French do. And he's like flipping around, then he falls to the ice, and his friends are just standing there watching him like freeze to death. And I can't
it's like
say
it's like a little, no, you can't. It's like a Little Women.
Yeah, it is
kind of thing.
Classic. Because he's like,
I said, come help me, you.
Yeah, and it's just good for our humor. Our humor.
That's our humor.
And yeah, our humor's loud.
I really think you could play a bunch of Chris Farley clips to people around the world, and they would all think it was funny. Unless they're snobby, jaded idiots.
Which,
No, I know there's some people out there, like Will Ferrell's really divisive. Some people don't like Will Ferrell because they just don't like his humor, and I guess I kind of get it.
There's an attack on comedy because, you know, if you say anything that hits a chord, banned. I'm hoping we're getting rid of that.
That's why I just decided when I started this podcast, I am not telling people what they can and can't say.
Yeah.
Like my friend Rob's going to be on here next Monday, and Rob, I'm letting him say what he wants to say.
Yeah.
I'm not like he has different opinions. Everyone has different opinions. I got all kinds of friends. You know, my buddy Tom Swiftbird will probably come on at some point too, and it's like have your opinion. It's good. Hear people's opinions.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Anyway, and hopefully, we can be in a place where we're just not so charged up about what everybody thinks all the time. Who cares? And the funny thing is, people in our camp can be just as bad. Like small government conservatives can get super offended about stuff that doesn't matter.
Going down the rabbit hole of every conspiracy theory, I just don't want to hear it.
Well, there's did you is it Brett Cooper? Is that her name? She was the first one on the comment section with the Daily Wire. She's like this little Gen Z gal. She's got dark hair, and she's just a cute little gal, and she would do like commentary on stuff. She got fired from the Daily Wire for some reason. And one of the first things she did coming back into broadcasting, she's still conservative, she still is who she is, was to talk about conservative cancel culture.
Well, and didn't they can Candace Owens too?
Yeah, they did. And there was some scrape between her and Ben Shapiro I don't know about. But then, like, I guess Steven Crowder, and I'm not like, I don't care about these people. I could care less. I don't need to listen to them. I don't care. I listen to who I listen to. I don't care what you think about it, anybody. But it is interesting, like, conservatives will cancel things, too. They just cancel different things. And when they start canceling stuff and telling people what they can and can't say, then, okay, what about free speech? And I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around anymore.
I'll say what I say to my kids if they don't give me a hug. I'm just going to go sit in a hole.
You know what I say to Zoe? Huh. Your dad's going to go take a nap under a bridge. Nobody loves me.
I'm going to take a big swallow of bleach.
Did you see what I posted yesterday about getting the preschool kids to laugh?
Yeah, I did.
I said, I'm going to throw you in a hole filled with kitty cats. And they're going, ah! It was great.
So one thing we were talking about.
I want to go back to the Montana thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Because everyone has this. We were going to talk about how you can't always like your job, but.
And we can touch on that too, because
I
get so tired. You know, usually when you're in the slog of things, and, you know, having two brothers that are in the ministry, and then I'm in.
In what?
In the ministry.
Ministry.
And I'm in the agricultural scene. You know, what I can't stand is when you're in the slog of it, and fellow cattlemen will understand this. Farmers will never understand this.
Here
you know,
we go.
When they're changing their stupid bearings in their heated shed, and I just don't want to hear it. So us cattlemen are out there braving the conditions, and then we got to watch all these guys wear their cowboy boots, which you don't have to wear cowboy boots to ride a John Deere. Side note. Anyways, and it'll always be those types that'll tell us cattlemen, well, cow prices are up. You deserve to work a little harder.
Yeah, you ever been kicked in the john by a steer?
Yeah. Do you ever lay awake at night during a blizzard going like, I'm not going to sleep tonight?
How many of my creatures are going to die?
Yeah. And so, where was I? Oh, I was just going with this. Usually the people that tell you, I never worked a day in my life, are the ones that they always hit you with that when you're in the slog of shit and things aren't going good. You know, usually when you're low, and we've talked about this before, and you're feeling like you already want to jump ship, then you have some highfalutin idiot. Oh, I love my job. Never a day at work, and that's a lie. I personally believe if you boil down anyone's career, there is no one that likes their job 100%. I just there's no way. There's always days that it's work. There's days it's good, but that whole farce that you're living the dream is a lie.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of we've talked more often than not. I mean, you and I talk just about once a day.
Oh,
just about. Sometimes we make up for it by talking extra long the next time we do get a hold of each other. And we've talked about the commonality. I've been entrusted to a group of people, and I don't want to swallow into the microphone because it's annoying. But anyway, I'm entrusted with this group of I don't care.
Just kidding.
This group of people, and you care about them, and you're concerned about them. And when one of them's not doing well or one of them's sick, that grates on you, and it's a lot. It's similar to
like the
being
other day,
a cattleman.
I was talking to you, and things were going really good, and then we just had a day of just a cow which I hate, should have never survived, had twins, hates them both, killed one of them. So I got and of course the better of the two, so it's dead.
That cow would fit in well. If that cow was a human, it would fit in very well in progressive society.
Oh, it'd be wonderful.
Killing one of their own children.
They'd put a poster of it up in Times Square.
Fearless hero.
So anyways, she's got no good udders on her. And then Brooke and I are doing trying to get another pair in, and then we see another cow calved off in the distance, and it's beating the holy living crap out of its calf.
Oh man,
that's discouraging. And it's just like, these idiots that don't want to eat meat, come spend a week with me, and you'll see why we eat them. I mean, they are honest to God with people. If there's anybody that says I just love cows, they're lying.
Well, did you see that? Man, I saw a clip a while ago. This gal has like 2 kind of smaller breed of cows, and she puts like pajamas on.
Yeah,
them.
It's a big thing now. They're like, I don't know the proper term. They're mini cows. Now, maybe if that's your deal, whatever.
If it's like a dog to you,
yeah. But I mean, I don't know.
If it turns into Mad Max,
I've been doing this full time.
People will be butchering your mini cows and eating them.
For 15 years, and I'll tell you right now, it's a hate relationship. The cows are good to us, and I like it's in my blood, and I like what I do.
Yeah.
Some days.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to stop you there.
Go ahead.
Because, was it last summer, I helped you haul a trailer full of culls.
Is that when we took them to boot?
Thinning the herd, and I almost got run over by that one.
By that rag.
Yeah, but after you got them all loaded up, you said, I kind of feel bad for
them. Well,
and
I do.
You do care about your cows.
Even that one that I'm telling you that killed her twin.
Yeah.
She's going to the ring on Monday or Tuesday. I can't have her. But I have to be honest. There was a time, during calving season, you really can't sleep. Not because you're checking, just because your sleep's so screwed up. And I was thinking about that idiot, and I was like, I feel bad for you. I'd rather put a bullet in your head and throw you in a hole, because then I know you're not going to get mistreated. But the sad part is right now they're worth good money, and that's my business.
Yeah. Well, I think
they're going to be dog food, and then no one's going to get them and torture them. But she's an idiot. I mean, she is the type of cow that needs to get the cattle prod and the club, because she just rubs on you, pushes you over. And I do feel bad for her. You know, that cow nature should have thinned that herd a long time ago. That cow,
that's part of stewardship.
Hindsight was that frickin' cow just came off the mountain a month ago.
And they're survivors. The mean ones are survivors.
She avoided us. Of course, orphaned her calf, which she's famous for doing. But no, I digressed again. We were just getting into this. These people that like to flaunt around everybody that they just love their job.
Nice
That's a
course
freaking
correct.
lie.
Yeah. No, and I've talked to so many different folks that work so many different jobs, and every job becomes a job at some point. My friend Pete Oldengarm down in Texas.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Dairyman, great guy. I'd come visit his family, and one time he was laying on, this was my first church as a youth pastor. One time he's laying on a couch with his hands behind his head. And he goes, "Look, Ruben, I'm doing my youth pastor impression."
Well, one of my favorite, that
great.
reminds me, one of my favorite people that you had down there, good people. And you're going to have to help me remember
Frank and Jerry Ann.
The best.
Callsbeaks.
I hope maybe if they listen to this, maybe they don't. They're
I'll
the best
send Jerry Ann this
salt
episode
of the earth.
Yeah.
But I remember Jerry.
Jerry Ann.
And
yep.
he was shopping
Jerry,
at
and then Frank is
Frank. So
Frank.
the dad, Frank, big Texas dude, like to
We
the
had
core.
Thanksgiving with them
Yep.
in Minnesota because their
And,
kids were going to
Door. Oops. You mean high school 2.0? Oop, I said it.
I went there. I know. I've been in the belly of the beast.
Anyways,
Hey,
so Frank is
plumbers are gonna plumb in heaven, Caleb.
And,
anyway, keep
and
going.
there's going to be football coaches in heaven. You're
Yeah,
so
good
cockeyed,
job, dude.
stupid. That's not what's going to be there.
CRC for the win. Anyway,
Yep.
go ahead.
Anyway, so I remember he was telling us, well, he had a really cute younger daughter, and we were joking about, at the time, getting Josh and her together. You know, this is way before Lacey, so it was just funny. And we
Yeah.
were giving Josh a hard time about it the whole time. But I remember Frank was at IKEA with his other kids. They were shopping for college dorm room furniture.
Yeah.
And he was like, Caleb, they don't make this stuff for Americans. I mean, I sat down in one of the chairs and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And this is a Texas dude that could just twist you into a knot. And it was the most American thing I ever said.
They don't make that stuff for Americans.
Yeah, I would have just loved to be there with him.
He's the man.
And
They're
seen him sit on that stupid Matchbox
wonderful
furniture and been
people.
like, walk out shaking his head. It's just not made for the Americans.
Yeah.
And he's right. It's made for some little
just small
European little wiener. Little liberal kid. That's what's also driving me crazy. All these little, what's the generation after us? Yeah, and by the way,
Z?
it turns out millennials were the biggest supporters of Orange Man, and we are Orange Man good, so you can all shove it. But we were the biggest supporter. Gen Z is the problem. They're all wearing their little designer watches,
had a
and
bunch of them.
and they're traveling, and they don't have kids, and they're
They
all
have a
like,
bunch I think we see a different side of them because we're in a very affluent area now, which it was not always, and we could talk about that too. But from what I understand, Gen Z is kind of course correcting and coming back. There's a lot of young men in the generation that are
you're right.
Like
I will throw Jabin out there. Jabin's a hard worker.
Yeah.
He always has been, and now he's working in concrete, and he gets it. But if there and I know there's millennials that every generation had their crap, but it is funny, just to see the kids that we see around here, young adults, and they just do not live in reality. They don't live in reality.
Well,
reality is not jet setting around and playing stupid.
Well, look,
The backbone of the society is out there cranking, and that's one thing I agree with Elon Musk is you should not be able.
Elon.
Yep, you should not be able to sit on your couch and pound on a computer. If I got to go out and prepare your food, then you should get your ass out there and have to at least go to an office. But like these people that work remotely, I jet set it to the beach, and all I have to do is make a fake thing. It's like, you know what? Screw you.
I think I kind of work remotely, but
Now
I'm just down the road from my church and all that. I don't care. Anyway, I don't like Elon Musk.
you don't? No, I love him. You don't.
I don't like him.
You think he's
I think he looks like a Terminator. I don't know. I can't say whether I trust him or not. And I don't think that I do not agree with people going around and vandalizing his companies.
Yeah, how does that
is
make
ridiculous.
sense?
How does that help anybody?
The left praised him as a hero, and now they're blowing his crap. I mean, they're the dumbest. And then we'll probably have to digress away from this.
Hypocritical.
They
I
are.
mean, totally hypocritical. But anyway, I want to get back to, again, I'm sure he's done some really cool stuff. I just go by with our mom. She would always, if someone kind of rubbed her the wrong way, and he's always rubbed me
Mom
the wrong
was
way.
always so good. I'll never forget. And you can attest to this too, but it would always be that. It'd be like, I really like this guy. Who is that? And you'd say his name. I didn't like him. He had a look. And she was always right.
100%.
I mean, I remember once we had a guy doing some work on the ranch. That's
Yeah.
all I'm going to say.
Yep.
And my mom could spot an alkie, 100 miles away because she grew up in a kind of turbulent family. And my mom could spot him. And she was always dead on. Dead on.
Yep. If mom gave your bride or bride to be the seal of approval, you knew you were
Guaranteed.
good.
Yep.
Yep.
So you were saying you wanted to go back to the Montana stuff?
Well, just that, the kind of modern rustic thing. And I've told people this. Bozeman is like someone you love. To me, this is how it is to me. It's like someone you love dying and then coming back as a zombie. Yeah. Like, it looks like the person that I love, but it's not the person I love. That's how I feel. And there are things I do love. I was going to tell you, I can't remember if I said this on a different episode or not. I don't know if I did. But I went on a Counting Crows kick.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me that.
I was listening to an interview of their singer, really cool, just interesting guy. And I thought, I'm going to listen to that first album, and there's a couple of big hits. There's 3 big hits on there. Mr. Jones, Round Here, and Rain King. But anyway, it brought me right back to driving around with our dad in Bozeman, going to get pizza and movies.
Where was our staple place to get movies?
It was Hastings, which is now Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, Hastings was like. Now I know all our dad's generation. Like, I remember North Stevens gravel. Oh, we're not talking about you.
And we're talking about us.
When we were kids, Hastings was the epicenter of everything. Entertainment.
People hung out in the Hastings parking lot.
Yeah, it was freaking awesome. In fact, I'm so glad in my high school years we still did that.
Yep.
And Hastings was awesome, and we would get pizza and a movie. And Little Caesars next to the Diamond Casino, because I remember being mesmerized by that spinning LED, not LED, fluorescent.
It was a hot machine.
Yeah. I wanted to have fun for me
to gamble.
But just good memories. And now we've gone from that to like these. I mean, I've heard this been told by numerous people, including you when you worked up there, but like the billionaires are pushing the millionaires out of Big Sky, which, side note, for all you people who don't live here, none of us locals go to Big Sky for jack shit. It is not a Montana institution.
It's not, but
Ruben's happy to take their money, and that's great. But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, local musicians will go up there, but I mean, this farce that like we're Big Sky is such
like
crap.
This is your Montana experiences going to the wealthiest probably town in all of Montana
in America,
aside from
in
like
North America,
Whitefish.
Ruben. Not because. So I've got a brother-in-law that's in construction, and that frickin' Arab. I don't know, some Arab group called the One and Only. They only build resorts in like the most ritziest places, and their location for North America,
Big
Sky, frickin' Montana. So all that trash, these sheiks and whatnot are going to fly into Belgrade. That's right, I said it. Belgrade Airport,
Gallatin Field, as Dad said.
And what I can't stand is when I shouldn't even do it, but I get on Instagram and you watch these people. It's just like I dreamed. What do you want from here?
What are you dreaming
like,
about?
What do you think you need here? If I could doze those mountains down, I would.
Yeah.
This is used to be such a good place with good people. And now I've heard people like, so we grew up in the Churchill area, and these new age dips, they're like, Churchill's full of weirdos. It's like, you bastards came 100 years too late.
You're full of. Do you think I'm going to have to mark this as explicit?
I would.
I think I will.
Because then it won't do anything weird to you. But it just drives me crazy.
Like
so they're going to call the people that have been here for
Yeah.
125 years. You're right. We are the weird ones because our ancestors broke the land and made way for you wimps to land here and do all your stupid crap.
Yep. And again,
sorry.
We understand. No, it's good. We understand the dynamic of displacement historically. Horrible things were done on behalf of the U.S. government. We understand that. We're not happy about that. But we're just speaking to our own experience. Our ancestors came here when it was not easy to come here.
Well, so I read our little bit of our cinema side, and steamships at the time, steamship carriers at the time were having like basically a wage war. That's probably the wrong word, but they were in competition with each other. So it was like Allegiant and Southwest. Like, you want to come here? We'll cut it in half. You want to go? We'll cut. So the tickets to come here were getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So steam, you came over on a ship, so that became more affordable. And these people were still I'm guessing they still had that class system. I'm guessing like a lot of our ancestors didn't own very much over there in the swamp, aka Holland,
hey,
which
Micah.
They're all so proud of.
How's it going, Micah?
If it was such a great place, why did they all leave in droves?
It seems like it might be kind of fun to visit now.
I would love to go see it, but no. Anyway, so they get. They gambled everything and came over. And anyways, they settled. And now the Bozeman people, the new age Californians, are going to tell us we're weird.
Well, I find it interesting, like a phenomenon that I have picked up on my worldwide job tour in 2021. Worked a bunch of different places, customer service. And people who have lived here for 5 minutes are trying to tell me about my state. That we go one side, our Kenna side goes back 5,
so we should share that because it's actually really cool. So our Sinnema side is great, but one thing with Dutch is they can't accept anyone that might be or do anything better than them. Well, listen up. So my mom's side of the family, who was always like the Sinnemas, were like, no, it's not confirmed. It's like, yeah, it is confirmed. So her great grandpa was in the hardware store industry in Colorado, and he
How many greats? Like 4?
Might be 2.
Okay.
Or 3, but anyways, John Kenna, and he moved up to I believe it was Bannock first, and and then Helena. He had 2 stores, I believe.
There's Virginia City in there too somewhere.
And so he had a hardware store, and it was called Jack and Kenna Hardware,
and you will see a green wagon in the Museum of the Rockies
with his store's name on it
that he sold.
So he was kind of a smart guy because the only people that made money in the gold rush were people that had the goods. Very few made money with the gold, but the guys that were selling them, the shovels, the picks, the axes, all that stuff,
is really smart.
They made money.
Yeah.
And so anyways, he was actually the first mayor of the territory, not the state of Montana, but not the mayor. I screwed that up. He was high up with the Vigilance Committee.
I thought he was the
on the
first
Vigilance
mayor of Helena or something like that.
One of the
first,
Montana
something like
territory.
We're not 100% accurate. All we know is that our
We
family's
have an
been here
aunt that's
a lot
sharper
longer
than
than
sharp,
yours.
and this has all been proven. So we never believed it, and then we saw it, and it's true. So it's interesting. So long story short,
when
like
people
Ruben was
say,
saying, they're like they live here for 5 years. They're trying to tell us where we need to go and what we need to go see. It's like, hold my freaking boots, you idiot.
well, that's kind of what I was just gonna say. Is people the ones that get me the most? People who've been here for 20 years, and they wear it like a badge of honor.
And we're 6 generations.
Yeah, like you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and part of it
for
is
example,
too, like accepting change. We know that.
Well, and Ruben, they're still out there because Brooke and I, good ones. Brooke and I, there's good transplants. Brooke and I went to get some cows once, and they're in this guy's yard, and usually we're preparing for an ash chewing. I kind of explained it at our mom's funeral, and I should explain it more. When I say we're in subdivisions, these aren't normal subdivisions. These are like $20 million houses on 100 acres of land that used to be kind of a ranchette.
Regular
So
people.
they have working corrals. Most of them do. That's what I mean. So we will just use those corrals to catch them. Anyways, so we go up to this one place I had never been, and the guy gets out of his car, and he's smiling ear to ear, and I was like, oh, boy.
Let's back up a little bit so that folks can understand. So you all lease pasture from different
Uncle
people.
Sam?
Yeah,
No,
from Uncle Sam.
U.S. government.
So the cows go up to different pasture for the summer.
Yeah.
And that's usually somewhere in the
National
mountains.
Forest Service.
Yep. And so these wealthy people have inherited functioning corrals, and for them it's rustic backdrop,
Yes.
but they're functioning corrals.
Yes. And so a lot of people didn't know what I meant by that. So that's exactly right. So these multi-million-dollar homes have a corner of the property still has corrals on it from long ago. But we go up there, and the guy's smiling ear to ear, and this doesn't happen much. And he's like, this is why I moved to Bozeman 60 years ago.
But you know what's funny? Like before you
He
continue.
liked that.
Yeah, before you continue. What's funny to me is that like you're moving here for this, but in the whole rest of the state, other than Kalispell and Missoula, Bozeman is known as the least Montana place
and historically
in the whole state.
It was nothing more than a stage stop. It was a Fort Ellis, and sorry to break the news to all you guys, it was a fertile farming ground for peas, but it was a cow town. The ring used to be down off of Rouse.
That's sad.
It's sad
really
because
sad.
and then all these people, we're just moving here to be party it. No, they couldn't stand the cow shit smell, so where did it go? Out to Three Forks. Now what's happening?
Yep.
Now that ring is getting surrounded by houses, and I can only imagine that they're getting sick of the shit smell. These people just don't live in reality.
Well, and the thing too is people come here and we're good. We're good. Yeah. What? Are you
I just don't want to segue off of what you want to do.
No, I don't care. I just want to talk.
Like we usually just for the
this
listeners
is
at home,
what we talk about.
This is what Ruben and I usually go down the rabbit hole.
If you think this is unfiltered, come hang out with us.
Yeah, this is.
And by the way, if you're offended by this, find another podcast, because I'm talking to Montanans, I'm talking to my friends, I'm talking to my family. If you don't want to know about my friends, my family, the people I connect with, or you don't want to be on here because we say something that upset your little delicate flower brain, then you don't get to be on here. I don't care. I have a feeling we're going to get some more followers, but just knowing like this town, and we do love it because it's our home.
Well, and it's also an extreme blessing to be close to it because. So Brooke grew
There's
up on
cool
a ranch
stuff going on
in the middle of nowhere, and if you had a flat tire, the day was done. Like you were going to go to Livingston and pray they had one. I get a flat tire, I go to Belgrade, and they got one on the shelf. I'm up and going, which is a big time blessing.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Belgrade because working people still live there.
You mean Compton? But yeah, it is.
Skylar Dyksterhouse, our cousin, he created a designation.
It's wonderful.
I want to get it correct, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, and we won't say it. We don't
Call
want
it
to
the 5 boroughs.
The 5 boroughs of Belgrade.
But we love Belgrade because they're still working people there. I'll never forget this, Caleb. And this speaks back to the culture clash. There's this gal who's come here and I'm flying through and I'm going to do a layover in Bozeman and I'm wondering if there's someplace close to the airport where I could get a drink and blah, blah, blah. Just so yuppie. So yuppie. And all these people are like, oh, you could go down to the Mint in Belgrade. It's just right down the road. Or, oh, you could go to the local. And this gal from Bozeman, a gal not from Bozeman,
but
from Bozeman. A gal not from Bozeman, from Bozeman. Yeah. I couldn't be less Montanan. She comments, this is why I don't have Facebook anymore. She comments, Belgrade, I'd keep your car doors locked. You want to know what's funny?
That's more, Belgrade is more Bozeman than
I live in the middle of Bozeman,
Montana,
and my car has actually been stolen because I didn't lock the doors.
And how much do you want to bet it wasn't by a multi-generational guy?
No.
Right?
Well,
and
Josh and I did talk about that because there have always been a few turds in Bozeman. I mean, there have always been snobby weirdos.
But you and me talked about this too, and we'll digress to it, but like these idiots that come here and then they're going to tell us where the best watering holes are. Kiss my butt. You don't know.
Or like they call...
I went to Stacy's, like you said. Bud Light is the best beer. It's like, welcome to the freaking Western bar scene, idiot.
But now this is the bummer, Caleb, is now the hipsters. I just talked about this in a different episode. Maybe when I did by myself, they're wearing Wranglers and they're wearing hats. They all look like they're on the cover of a Jacob Dylan album.
And Carhartt.
Yeah.
Carhartt used to, we wore Carhartt in high school, and if you wore Carhartt, you were like, that's loser status.
We literally called people Carhartt clad.
Yeah. And so now they're like wearing the beanies and the hoodies, and it's like they don't even, I wear a hoodie, it's full of cow shit, might have a Marlboro in the pocket.
That sounds good.
It's getting worked. It sucks because they all wear these brand, and then my favorite is to get these fly by night boot companies, and these idiots will buy the boots, and then they're telling me, "Oh, you wear those? I would definitely next pair get this." Like have you ever walked 10? Okay, let's just say Ruben, a calving season, I walk 100,000 steps in these boots.
And this is what's so funny.
Whose word are you going to take? Mine or the guy that wears them to the mall?
How many ranchers do you know? How many ranchers do I know? And I forget who said this. I think it might have been my friend Carl Weirda. He said, all the ranchers I know walk around in baseball caps and hiking boots or tennis shoes.
Yeah, like when I'm fencing in the mountains, I'm wearing
you wear
combat boots.
Yeah, and
because
that's a smart choice.
They're light and
they're like jungle boots.
Yes, and the ankle support. I mean,
did you hear the Rose Anvil guy? Is it Ashton? I can't remember his name. He did the background of jungle boots that they wore in Vietnam.
Oh,
and the reason they made them so porous was so that the water would get in them and then drain out of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's actually really practical. But I mean, it's just so interesting, and I think that's something that you don't understand if you're not from Montana is two words, and I have had this term thrown at me by well-educated people who have come here and have a sense of culture and different places, sociology, all that stuff, anthropology, I suppose. And one of my good friends said, the hallmark of Montana is rugged individualism.
Yeah.
And I was talking to another person about that who's not from here, but acclimated very well. They came from the Midwest. Midwesterners usually do well here. Just don't tell us how to do things, please.
And
You know,
also,
where I
side
come
note,
from in the lowland bog, they do it like this. But I got to finish this thought.
okay, then remind me of my story.
He moved here from rural Midwest, and he said, you know, that's one thing Montanans just can't stand is being told what to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
It was like Josh had a friend in college, and he came out here and he was trying to tell me that a 9mm was the best sidearm you could have. And then this guy was from Iowa, which I think we all know is the armpit of America. And he's like, you know, Iowa should be called the Big Sky State because we don't have any mountains blocking the view.
You can't tell how big the sky is when
So-
the tallest thing around you is corn.
He belonged in Iowa. You know, that's the most Iowa
You
thing
can
I've
have
ever
it.
seen. You know, when you have to make up like bull crap to make your state sound good because all of us know it smells like pig shit, whatever.
I spent most of my adult life in the upper Midwest. The people are awesome. I love the people. But there are certain cultural and geographical dynamics that I don't think I can go back.
Yeah.
Like my dad-in-law, R.I.P., my wonderful dad-in-law, Arlen Winia. He had a way of talking that I still take with me. He go, after I came here from Iowa, and I saw a snow come to rest on a fence post about 6 inches. I said, I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
I'm not going back there.
Well,
He'd always say it twice.
Well, you basically lived in, we'll just call it the Midwest for a better term, but the last place you lived in Midwest, I remember taking the kids to the park, and it literally was like a post-Soviet bloc nation nuclear fallout town park. There was a seesaw.
We're just alienating everyone, and I couldn't be happier.
There was a seesaw painted like lead turquoise green with paint chips, random anchor. And I mean, and then when the corn gets harvested, it looks like Fallout.
Like the video game.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like
it was
Chernobyl.
awful, and I don't know how anyone lives there.
I don't get it.
It was hard on you. It's hard on a lot of people.
I literally went nuts and quit my job.
Well, and then they have to like tell us things like yeah, but we won't go down that hole.
Dad says they think they invented weather. You know, Dad would always say when you come to visit us in these different places. And by the way, folks, I love you. You know I do. But he would always say, "Oh, we come here for the freezing rain."
Yeah,
and they'd look at him like, what? Yeah. So this is why, Caleb, I put my comments on not auto publish because I moderate all the comments.
Ooh,
and
that'll
so
be helpful.
If you have nothing good to say about this, I will delete your comment and forget that it ever was.
Can the public see
written.
the comments?
Yeah, but I approve or deny them.
Oh, is that going to stress you out?
No. I can't believe, like, being back in Montana, this is back to the rugged individualism thing. We are blowing the record out of the water for length, by the way.
Uh-oh, where are we at?
No, I don't care. We're at 52 minutes.
Oh, geez.
52 minutes and going. It's like we've been here for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I knew
lose
this was going to
track of
happen
time.
because for those of you who don't know, Josh and I are the twins, but Ruben and I are the twins. Like, we
What
sound
do we
alike.
always say?
So,
What do we always say?
what is it?
If we were the twins, where would we have landed?
A little town called Deer Lodge. I went to
It's
pick up
so
my son
true.
at school the other day, and I had just shaved. And it's ironic because Ruben and I both shaved our beards off, and now we look like idiots.
Same day.
Same day. We didn't even know it. But anyways, before I shaved one off completely, I cut a big, huge mustache, and I had like. Anyways, I was wearing aviators and a baseball cap, and I went to pick up my kids at school, and Kanan was staring at me like he didn't know me. And I got him. He was like, "Oh, I thought you were Uncle Ruben." And I was like, so anyways, we also look alike. But
We do. I'm a little husky. I've put on some pounds since Mom died.
yeah, but what do we always say? All these kids are like, oh, I'm 6'8". Yeah, I'd rather be 5'11" and be able to snap you in two than be 6'8".
I remember when a 6'7" guy thought, he could pull one over on you, and you said, have you ever seen a wolverine go at a grizzly bear?
Yeah, I'll get around your neck
And by the way,
kill you.
this would be more like a wolverine going at a giraffe.
Yeah, it's actually sick that I know this, but it's easy, Yeah, we won't
And that's
go
why.
there.
That's why if we
this
would have been,
Bumble's reformed now.
if we would have been twins, that's why sometimes people, we're in a small town culture, so people will say stuff like, "Boy, I heard from your brother. Boy, he was sure an earful," and I'll just say, "Is he beating people until they can't move anymore?"
Yeah.
Well, no, he's
And I
walking
was
with the
getting a
Lord.
kick out of the last podcast because Josh was talking about going up to cars, and I vividly remember being like, "Joshua, you don't have a mean bone in your body. Do you want to get killed? But stay in your car."
But sometimes,
can you imagine Joshua?
but sometimes, Josh, that was me. A switch flips.
Yeah, I do remember once when we were kids, he threw me over his shoulder like Superman.
Do you remember when you used to chase him around the table and he'd every so often he'd pull a dirty steak knife out of the dishwasher?
You try me.
Back away.
Yeah, I do.
Like the ultimate found weapon in our house with you guys when you would fight, sometimes he'd find a hanger and smack you with it like a plastic
I'll
hanger.
never forget once we were kids and I put a rock in a snowball and I lobbed it over and you hear this, like that perfect knock. And Josh got a adjustable wrench and just winged it at me.
Do you remember? I don't know if Josh remembers this. You dared Josh to eat dog
Yeah,
food.
because it was on Oprah. And he did.
And Dad comes up. And Caleb, you're going, oh, you ate dog food. You ate dog food. And Josh he's already
been
white
and
kind
sick.
of queasy. He's white, green around the gills. And Dad comes home for lunch. It's like, oh, you ate dog food? That's made out of horse meat. And Josh puked instantly.
But he had that pale look. I'm a terrible person because I also had my poor beloved cousin eat like a poisonous berry.
Jeez.
Yeah, what were those berries?
They were red ornamental berries.
Yeah.
And this berry
like,
bush,
everybody eats these here.
this- birds can eat them, but then of course, our mom had she had poison control on speed dial.
Oh.
She's like super mom.
Yep.
And she calls and goes, well, he'd have to eat a bowl full of the berries for it to do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Come to Auntie Kim's house and get poisoned.
Yeah. Oh.
But this is interesting because this goes back to the being from here and being shaped by here.
Yeah.
This is two things. First of all, there was one time I was driving down Camp Creek Road, and I thought I got to be out at 2:30, so
Okay.
we're fine. I was driving down Camp Creek Road, and I thought, Lord, if I die, is there a way they could bury me right under this road?
Yeah.
Because I love this road.
Or was it Vincent Road?
Camp Creek was
Okay.
just between Vincent Road and the farm.
Because Vincent, I found an aerial picture of the place we grew up, and it just holds a dear spot in my heart.
It was a great way to grow up. And folks, our dad is majority stockholder in a ranch. Caleb is the heir apparent. Owning land is a thing. It's a privilege. It's something not a lot of people get to do. But we didn't have a lot growing up.
No.
I mean, our parents had a lot of debt, and they struggled very hard.
Well, we suffered because generationally.
Yeah,
And we're not
just-
going to get into that,
yeah.
but it was my dad was too good of a guy. He was too good of a son, and he took a lot of lumps over the head because he was too good of a son. And we'll leave it at that.
But like we didn't have. I mean, we had what we needed.
Yeah.
We had more than what we needed. But we grew up in a house that was over 100 years old.
There's pictures of it in 1900.
It was basically infested by mice in
Yeah.
the basement a lot of the time. I mean, we had mouse.
We ain't going to paint that. we ain't going to paint that.
We had mouse poop in our dresser drawers and stuff. And for us, it was just commonplace. And our dear mother, she soldiered on, and our dad did too. And they did the best they could. But my point is we are not the people that, I inherited a trust fund from my daddy and he bought me an acreage outside of Paradise Valley or something. Like this has been generations, and our great grandpa sacrificed for it, and our grandpa sacrificed for it, and our dad sacrificed and is sacrificing for it, and now Caleb has sacrificed and is sacrificing for it. It's 24/7. It's stress. As we say, there's calves dropping. Like when we talk about calving, I should probably explain that. What we mean is when the mama cows are giving birth. And that's a stressful season. So for you, it's from January until they're done, right?
Yeah.
Is that basically it?
Yep. Well, we moved it back now. Like these purebred guys, they got to get them calved out early so they can get their cows bred up again. But we, being commercial, which means our beef goes to the consumer, we were able to stretch it out a little bit. So the heifers were pretty bad. We started them in February, and it was cold, and it got bad. We survived it, or should I say I survived it. Yeah. And then we got to the cows started in March, and second week of March, and it couldn't have been better. The snow melted off, the frost is out of the ground. Even last night we had probably 3 inches of snow, and it's gone.
Yeah, which
so
is
it's been
nice.
wonderful. But you do find a lot of this is the time of year when so we've got like 250 calves on the ground, probably another 70 or 60 to go. And now we're finding all the idiots. So this is when you get the ones that want to kill their calf or claim another calf, and it just sucks.
Funny story. So one time at Sunday dinner with Grandpa Chet, and Mom or someone had brought up that there's this family that they have cows as pets, and they have names for all their cows. And we all started to laugh, and Mom goes, "Yeah, you guys have names for your cows." Beep, beep.
Yeah, yep.
And it was just Grandpa and Dad had the classic combo, and I won't say it, but
Yeah.
it was a great way to grow up. And so here, this is kind of full circle. I ran into a guy that I went to school with in elementary school.
Is that me huffing into this thing? I think I am.
It's me too.
Okay.
But it's just how it is. People have to breathe, especially when they're like me and they have a large belly. But anyway,
heavy.
he's real heavy.
Anyways.
But went to elementary school with this guy, and he's a working guy. He works very hard. He works very hard, and he's very giving, and he's got a good heart, but he's really tough.
Yeah.
He is extremely tough. And he helped me out with something, and I gave him a hug.
He also served overseas
Yeah, he
in
did.
a combat zone.
He did.
So he's seen a lot.
And I don't have permission to use his name, so
No,
I'm not going to
that's
use
fine.
it. But gave him a hug, and he goes down the road in this beat up pickup, and I just thought, man, we're just different.
Yeah.
Like, we have a lot in common. Like that, he's one of our people, and I was just thinking, what is it? Like, all the actual Montanans I know would be considered psychos by everybody else, by polite society.
Yeah.
But I think the reason for that is when we talk about how we grew up, and I've mentioned this in the podcast before, snakes and coyotes and animals and dirt and rocks and hills and tight
It's honestly
corners and
stuff out of a movie. Because
literal cliffs.
We were fixing a fence last summer, and this is a place that never had rattlesnakes, and you have to hike up to it because it's our border. So you'd have to drive a mile to go 10 feet. So instead, you just hike through these sandstone cliffs, and I'm not kidding you. We killed 10 adult snakes that day, rattlesnakes, and probably 25 babies. And infested.
How could you do that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Have one
they'll
rattling
bite
at
you and kill you.
And the
dinks.
weird thing was I had my little boys with me, and we were up on the top, and snakes were slithering up from behind us. Not to get us, but they were denning up because it was August.
But if you step on them, you're getting bit.
Yeah, and it was
you could die.
See, in August, September is when they're denning up for the winter, and so they were coming there to den up. And how sick is that?
Well, snakes are
awful.
They're bad. So anyway,
And you get bit, you're dead.
You're dead. So, do you remember when you were a kid and you were climbing down out of that what were those big pine trees that we had at the old house called?
My favorite tree of all time. They're Ponderosa pines.
Ponderosa pines.
The state tree.
Nice. Big long needles.
Beautiful.
And you were climbing down out of one, and there was a coiled rattlesnake right underneath you. And I remember yelling, "Caleb, there's a snake! Stay in the tree!" Mom calls Uncle John, who was the snake killer
He was the snake
extraordinaire.
hero.
He'd bash him in the head with a shovel and then chop their head off.
Yeah, he was to us. He was awesome.
He was our hero.
Yeah,
he was one of our
killed-
heroes.
I mean, many times our front porch there'd be a snake coiled up right on the front step.
He'd have that crusty tough guy look,
Yep.
and he'd come and conk it in the head and chop its
He'd
head
thunder
off.
up with his old Chevy.
Yep.
He always
That old
wore
blue-
like a Gilligan hat.
light blue and lighter blue Chevy
Yep.
with what do they call it? Blue 55.
Yeah.
The finish, it would fly off at 50 miles an hour,
Oh.
55 miles an hour, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it was just a different way to grow up, and the way we grew up, it shaped us. So when we say certain things, I'm going to whack that guy upside the head, and someone looks at us like, well.
A certain person who I won't name, but it just struck a chord with me. So our mom has been passed for a couple months now, and we're
October, November, December, January, February, March, almost 6 months.
Yeah, and this certain person has a certain other person living with them, and anyways, we interact with this person, and she was telling me the other day, she's like, this unnamed person is like, the Sinnema boys used to send my girls home crying. It's like for saying shut up or you're an idiot. And that was the kind of crap they used to say to our mom, and it would just so upset her. And it's like, you know what? How about you stop sheltering your idiot children? I don't know if the dork kids are going to come out of the shell, but when you go to out in the real world, it is not going to be coded.
I'll never forget when I was at college, and this Canadian kid flicked a cigarette at me, and it hit me in the chest. And it was like a nuclear explosion went off in my mind. And I knew if you got in a fight, you'd get kicked out. So I just did nothing. But those kind of kids, those Dutch bubble kids, they think that they can get away with everything. And when they go out in the wide world, the best thing for them would be to get their head smashed in.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, Ruben, you were not the typical, like, I know another girl that went to Dort, and it was like a godsend to her. This is a girl who had a rough, so it's a wonderful place for a lot of people.
It is.
My rub is that, you know, when
in
you
our
go to
community, it's like the pinnacle of human civilization.
If you go to a local high school, that's tiny. And then you go to another kind of sub-local college that's tiny, and then you're going to act like you're big shit.
Yeah.
Hold my drink.
Well, and that's kind of something interesting. My friends and I always sought out people that would have made other people uncomfortable.
Yeah, I always heard the stories, not from you, but like the typical types, because I had a couple friends that went there, didn't last long. And I remember they would all get, what'd you guys do this weekend? Oh, we went to the cornfield and got some Bartles and James and some wine cooler.
Yeah, they'd have pit parties. Like they'd go to a gravel pit and just drink.
You know, I went to house parties in my college days that there was more kids that probably wouldn't attend Dort. And so it's like,
yeah.
And then what gets me is they're not acting any better than the state school kids. They're just doing it under the umbrella of that institution.
We had kids that went there, and they went there because their daddy said, this is the only college I'm going to pay for.
Yeah.
You know what our daddy said to me?
Yeah.
Because we ain't got any money. Good luck. You're going to have to take out loans, and I'm still paying them off.
And I went to state school.
Yeah. So it all comes back to just that different mentality.
Yeah.
But that's why I wrote down Montana mindset.
But
that's what
and
we
you're
have.
right, Ruben, because our grandpa Chet instilled in us individuality from the get-go. Because a lot of people from our town, in the Dutch town, are from this place called Groningen. Obsessed with it. And our grandpa always told us, you are Fries.
And he would.
And the Fries in the Netherlands are Vikings people.
Hey,
they're
Siri.
Fries.
What about the history of Friesland?
Freeland on Whidbey Island was originally
That's not correct.
Try it again, though, because it's, anyways, he would always tell us, don't you forget that you're Fries. And so we would grow up saying that, and it started young. It started on both sides.
Yeah, because our other grandpa's...
don't ever forget you're Swedish.
Yeah, he's a Swede, and our grandma on that side is Irish.
So, I mean, it was neat. It was
great. And you know what they called our mom when she was dating our dad?
The American girl?
American girl.
That would be a badge of honor. Like,
yeah, Tom Petty wrote a song about it, dimwits.
You know, you need to not date that American girl, and you need to date your third cousin. That'd be better. It's true.
I just we got a list. If you or someone you love were offended by this episode of the podcast, well, there's a class action lawsuit. No, I'm kidding. But it's this is us. And if you don't like us, we don't care.
Ruben will never have me on again.
Oh, I'll have you on. This is what's going to be funny. Is we're not only are we smashing the length record because we're well over.
Does that mean people aren't going to listen?
No, they're going to listen. They one of our Bryce, our dear cousin, he said, well, you know, I mean, I'd listen to it even if it was an hour. I'm driving.
So. Well, I guess that wraps us around to our other the main point is Montana individualism.
Yep. All right. Just a little bit from the old internet here. The history of Friesland started with the Frisian Kingdom, which subnote here, footnote. If you look at a map of Germania, as the Romans would have called it, the Germanic kingdoms, Friesland is one of the kingdoms that you will see there.
Yeah.
Now it's I believe the northern or almost northernmost province of the Netherlands. Anyway, started with the Frisian Kingdom, founded around the year 600, stretching from modern Friesland all the way to Germany and Belgium along the coast. And after all these years, the Frisians never lost this identity.
And it's awesome.
I love it. We all come from tribes, brothers and sisters.
But on that same note, it's funny. We have a third cousin who still visits us from the Netherlands, and it's funny because we have a lot of pride with our Dutch heritage here and the stuff that the Dutch do here. She's like, we've never done that. It's not real. I have great-grandparents alive that never did that. So it's so funny that they get off the boat. They came up with basically their own little inner circle of tradition, and they dubbed it Dutch because it's not.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Like the dinner and stuff.
The Dutch supper.
Not at this is not things they ever ate.
Broodekal.
Micah, our cousin, said this is stuff that they probably had available to them here,
and it became their thing.
And it became
that's what
their
they had.
thing, and then the kids glommed onto it. That's real.
Don't Dutch people eat tons of fish?
That and they eat 2 cold meals a day with bread, 1 hot meal. So, like, when you read the cookbook, it's like, they usually like to go get the chores done. Then they come in for a big hot bratwurst. Then they go back out. Then they come in for crumpets. Then they go back. It's like, you guys made this crap up.
Except the legend of our community, Homer Sievinga. Did you ever get to talk to him?
No.
He would go into our local store. May it rest in peace. But anyways, he'd go into our local store and he'd go, I need that cheese with the little mouse tudge in it. The caraway, like Gouda probably.
Well, and it's just funny to me that so much pride is built on something that's American.
Micah, hit us in the comments on this podcast and tell us what common northern Netherlandic fare is.
She sends me pictures of
We
like
should
what
just
she
get her
sends
on.
to the
We should get
kids.
her on here.
We should have, because it's just refreshing. Because our mom was always made, oh, you're not Dutch. It turns out none of you guys are frickin' doing what Dutch people do. You just taking a rendition of what your ancestors were like. I guess this is what we do now.
So there, any of my Jewish friends would say this. There's a such thing as a self-hating Jew. You hear that expression.
And I'm a self-hating Dutch.
We're self-hating Dutchmen.
Because
and when we fully, like, when some of those chords get hit with us, it makes us want to go scorched earth.
Like, we were the kids that understood, like, when kids would come from outside the community and they didn't fit in, our mom taught us to make them fit in. Because she was a blessed saint in the community. I mean, she was an adopted daughter of the community, and she loved it. So to say she didn't, she did. And we all do too. But when they go on this tirade of like this better than thou, that's crap.
They need it. They're getting over it. It needs to get better. I got a question for you. So talking about Montana mentality, this is part of the Montana mentality that I know. Because you have a fair amount of hot takes politically that you will broadcast on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some of which we've heard today. And I'm very proud of you, and I love you, and I stand behind you. And if any one of my brothers came to my house at 3 a.m. with a trunk full of dead bodies, I'd say, give me a shovel. Let's bury them. That's just how we're wired. But anyway, Montana mindset. I told somebody, if a militant liberal Democrat hit the ditch somewhere down the road from Caleb, he'd still pull him out.
Yeah.
Now, then this person said this. Said, what if they had a Free Palestine sticker on their car?
I'd still pull them out.
Yeah, you would. And this is why we're different.
Yep.
We will not boycott you. We will not hate you.
Yep.
But you don't want to hear what we have to say.
In fact,
or even recognize that we should exist.
A Hyundai in the ditch after youth group late. And they had a big LGBTQ sticker on. Didn't care. I want to help. Pulled them out. And I'm pretty sure they were on, I probably shouldn't have done it for my own safety, because I'm pretty sure they were on some hard drugs.
Oh, boy.
But I did it, and I don't care. And, that's the difference between guys like you and me and the rest of these people, these liberals. I'd give them a hug.
Yeah,
I don't care. I won't spit in their face.
I've done it.
The flip side is we're the scum of the earth.
Yeah. And you know what's cool? That's why I wrote that song. It was inspired by you and my brother Josh with scrapes you've had with different people. That's why I wrote Deplorables with Guns.
Yeah.
We're all from the country, deplorables with guns.
Well, it's ironic because we got a neighbor at the ranch that's been driving Teslas forever, and he is steeped in liberalism. Because one day he came by, and this is a liberal for you, comes in, sees me feeding cows. I'm getting out of the tractor, open a gate, and he comes up and he's like, someday you're going to be doing this with battery-powered tractors. And I said, no, I won't. And he said, well, why? And I said, do you have time for me to humor you? And he
if
did.
You guys get your way on this, we'll be doing this with horses and buggies again.
Yeah, right? So we had a brand new DeWalt Impact driver, and I was putting some rails in the fence too later that day. And so I had like 6-inch torque screws, big screws. And I said, this battery is fresh and warm. And I put in, I think, 4 of them, and then it quit. And I said, so if I get 4 bales in when I need to feed 10, I have to stop for 8 hours to charge the damn thing?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
No.
I said, the most efficient thing is this diesel motor running the hydraulic motor, running everything, and I get it done. And the funny thing is now he's all sheepish because now they're all anti Tesla. So now he drives by with his head buried down in shame. It's like they couldn't stand by something if you made them. They just can't.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't care about Elon Musk. He just kind of grates me a little bit, but I think he's done some cool stuff. But anyway,
I'm just glad he's on our team.
Back to the Montana thing. I think all of this stuff, and we're gonna hit 15 minutes, and then I think we'll start wrapping it up. An hour and 15 minutes. I mean, all of this stuff has to do with how we were raised.
Yep.
And if you don't like us and you don't like the things you're hearing, you probably don't like about 60% to 70% of people who are from Montana.
Agreed. And
not that it's a monoculture
and
everyone's
it's not
just like us.
Right here.
People are different.
But I've been all over the state.
Yeah.
Buying bulls, selling cows, buying horses. Montanans are like-minded people.
And these people are the people who will pull you out of the ditch.
Yeah, like
they will save your life.
Brooke and I went out to Jordan, Montana to buy some horses.
Yep.
When they say, now Eastern Montana is a different world. Like Montana's big, we're all used to it. But when they say, oh yeah, just a little ways past the schoolhouse turns out to be 35 miles of shale rock, and I'm loading like these big ass 1,500-pound horses, and I'm like, I am never making it out of here with good tires. And I blew out both tires, and this little guy on a side-by-side picks me up, pops him off with his impact wrench, goes all the way back to his shed, changes the tires with one light bulb hanging over him, and because that's what you do out there. There is no tire shop.
Yeah.
And he fixed them. And then my trailer lights weren't working, so he gave me 2 magnetic red flashers to put on my trailer. I mean, that is Montana. He didn't ever ask me who I voted for.
Yeah.
He just helped me.
Yep.
And he said, well, where are you from? And I said, I'm from the Manhattan area, south of Amsterdam. And he's like, well, I buy my baler at Churchill Equipment.
Oh.
Next time I'm there, we can exchange the lights. And we did. We did.
Honor system.
So that's way cool.
Honor, virtue, community.
Yep.
These are Montana things.
And he even sent me down the road with his spare trailer tire.
Saying hello to people.
You ask, why was Caleb so ill-prepared? Because Caleb was young and dumb. And
we're us.
Didn't anticipate the 35 miles one way of shale rock on tires that were less than better.
That's another rant for a different time.
Yeah.
But, well, Caleb, this was awesome. Thanks for being on. It was super cool. Yeah.
It was kind of a big circle whirlwind, but
it honestly, every time like a guest will think, oh, I don't know how that went, or I'll think, oh, I wonder how this is going to turn out. It's always really fun. So I want to say shout out to, I've got some people in the comments that I would really like, that I'd like to give a brief shout out to, because we've had some pretty consistent commenters for this stuff. Let me see if I can find them all. All right. Bryce Dykstra House. He commented, do we get bonus points if the scary story involves your dad or the ranch? And I said, yes, you do. Love to hear that. We might have to have a couple Dykstra houses on here sometime. Yeah. Skylar Dykstra House commented on the one where we talked about say no as a say no, I'm okay. And the Skylar, a couple comments are our dear cousin Wes Gunst out in the bustling metropolis of Kalamazoo, Michigan. He wrote this, and it's pretty great. He said, you wake up and imagine this, you wake up and there's a beautiful gift waiting for you. After opening it, you realize not only is it everything you hoped for, but it also exceeds your wildest dreams. Then, when you think it can't get any better, you're told you'll get more gifts like this in the future.
And Wes is like the most like us. We never hung out with him, but he's the most like us.
And musician. So
he's so cool.
And then he continues, have I described Christmas morning? No. It's today's episode of the Rubecast. That was the one where Dad talked about us. And Tammy Sinnema, thank you for your comments. Chase, we love you. We love you all. Thanks for listening.
I'm going to ostracize a lot of your listeners. They're going to jump ship.
I don't care.
They ain't like me.
This is what's so great is no one gets to tell me what I'm going to put on here. So if you don't like
Caleb has always been a hothead, and he's dangerous.
And thank you to my friend Gene Nilsson. I don't know if he listens, but he reminded me that quote we like to say, he was a big brute of a man.
He was a hairy brute.
From Christmas Vacation.
Oh.
It's a big brute of a man. When he
Eddie abducts the
boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I always wondered.
Well, hey, big brute of a man. Thanks for being on the podcast. Folks, thanks for listening. We think that it's awesome that you want to listen, but I think we do this whether you are listening or not. So
it's fun.
Bonus for you. It is fun. Caleb, proud of you. Love you.
Proud of you too.
Love you too.